All right, well, hey, welcome to this Academy class on Blue Bossa, a classic jazz standard in a Latin feel. So this will be the first one that we have done in a Latin feel. So if you can, make sure you have downloaded the PDF that goes along with this, because we're going to be referencing that. So go ahead and take that out. This song was written in 1963. Originally, it's kind of a bebop song, and this was written for Joe Henderson. It's written by Kenny Dorham, but it was on Joe Henderson's project, and it's been a jazz standard ever since. Doesn't have the traditional swing eighths, but it's got a straight eighth Latin feel, which we're going to talk about. It's a rather short melody. It's a 16-bar melody, so usually when you play the melody, you repeat it twice, and then you go to the solo section, and then you do it twice more at the end. So it's a great song that I wanted to cover early on because it's a good opportunity to solo in a different way of soloing than we've talked about before. This you can use our pentatonic scales, and then for one 4-bar segment in the third line, we switch to a tonal center of D flat major. The other lines, 1, 2, and 4, are all in C minor. E flat major, C minor. So we're going to talk a little bit about the harmony involved with that. We're going to talk about the soloing, the chords, and the melody. But to get us started off, let's talk about the tracks. The Hal Leonard series did not have a track with this. They don't have tracks for everything. So this one was just one of the ones that they did not have a track for. So I included in your materials 3 YouTube video backing tracks that I have. The first one is a really good, slow backing track that's going to be great to practice on. We'll be referencing that in this video. That one's at 90 beats per minute, and it goes for like 7 minutes long. Plenty of time to go through soloing ideas. The next one is at 150 beats per minute, has the chords on the screen. The next one is at 160 beats per minute, which was what I did the intro. That was the intro track there. And that one was, it goes for just a couple of minutes, but it's a good, brisk, bright tempo, more like the tempo of the original. But to get us started off with, we're going to be on that slower track. So use the YouTube reference videos for your tracks. All right, so turn to page 2 of your PDF, and let's take a look at the melody. This is as it appears in the real book there, the standard way of looking at that. Now, let me reference, first of all, the chords. We're in the tonality of C minor. We're going to talk a lot about tonality. We're in a minor key, and the chords that are related to that we're going to cover here in a few minutes. But there's one chord in particular. In that 4th bar, you'll see a B flat 7. All right, now, from pretty much everything throughout the rest of this lesson, that B flat 7th will not exist. I don't know why Hal Leonard, when they redid this song, they changed it from the original, but I went all the way back to the original, and it did not have that B flat 7th in there. I went back to my old real books, and it did not have that B flat 7th in there. I'm not sure why in the 6th edition they added that B flat 7, but we're going to assume for our purposes now that that B flat 7th is not there. Okay, because you're not going to see it on any other version of it. So it starts off with 2 bars of C minor, then it goes to F minor, which is going to continue for both of those bars. Then you have the D minor 7th flat 5, which is functioning as a 2. We'll learn about that. The G 7th with this altered sharp 5, sharp 9, and then it goes back to C minor. Those are the first 2 lines, first 8 bars. The next 4 bars, it goes to E flat minor 7th, to an A flat 7th, to a D flat major 7th. For just those 4 bars, it does what is a common trick in jazz, is it'll shift tonal centers for just a few bars. And here's one of them. This is for just that 3rd line, it shifts into the key of D flat and gives us a 2, 5, 1 in D flat, just to kind of shift the tonal center a little bit. And then for the last 4 bars, it goes back into C minor and gives us a 2, 5 going into that C minor. And there you go. Now, often in some of the tracks, and most of the time when you're playing it live, there is a tag section, which is those last 4 bars. So at the end of the song, you would repeat that last line, those last 4 bars, 3 times, is how that would work. All right, so let's first talk about the melody. I like to play the melody, since it's got such a wide range, I like playing that in the third position. In previous things, we did things in multiple positions. In this one, we really only do it in one position, the third position. Okay? So that C minor, when that starts it off, we hit the G here with our third finger on that fourth string. First finger on the high C immediately does this octave jump. We are in the key of C minor with 3 flats, E flat, A flat, and B flat. So you have to keep that in mind as you're playing this melody. So it starts, I'll just play it through. 1, 2, 3, pickup note. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, second line, and here go. B flat here, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's play it again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Lots of upbeats. 1, 2, 3. Very common in Latin feels. And B flat there. 1, 2, 3. Upbeat. Sorry, there should have been an F. Sorry. And 1, 2, 3. G flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take the coda, so we'll pretend like this is the last time. 2, 3. Then it does that again. And then it'll play it again. Ending on the 9th. Or you can just play that last little tag 3 times. That's the basic melody. Stays completely in the third position there. That's the basic melody there. Couple of things to note. In that 6th bar where you have a G7 augmented 5th and sharp 9 and all that sort of craziness, but it is a B flat as the melody note. Don't be tempted to play a B natural there because of that G7. It is a B flat because of the key signature. All right, so the next page over, on page 3, several of you had requested that I write out the melody with the tab so that you can see exactly where I'm playing it at, and so I wrote that out there. And you'll notice in the 4th bar on page 3, I took out that B flat 7 is in parentheses. So just a little reminder that you don't play that. Also, a note on the D minor 7th flat 5, that a minor 7th flat 5 is the same thing as a half diminished. They're used interchangeably. They're not like each other. They are exactly the same thing. So sometimes you'll hear it referred to as a minor 7 flat 5. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as a half diminished. It's the same formula. 1, 3, flat 5, flat 7. Okay? Sometimes that G augmented 7th in some of the other versions will just be simplified to a G7th. So you'll see that sometimes too. All right, so there you go. I won't play the melody again because it's exactly the same in the tab there. So flip over to page 4. Remember, as you're practicing this melody, you can always go down to the YouTube, the little gear down there, and you can slow it down to practice with. You can even slow the tracks down now that they're on YouTube as well. Let's look at the basic chords on page 4. All right, so it starts out with a common C minor 7th done with our 5th string bar form. And then it goes to an F minor 7th, regular bar F minor 7th. You can go all the way down to that 6th string if you want to. If you want to stop at the 5th, that's fine too. You got a little bit of leeway in jazz. D minor 7 flat 5 or a D half diminished. We've done this chord form before. G augmented, 7th. I encourage you, like we talked about last time, to get 3 pieces of paper, one for major 7th type chords, one for minor 7th chords, one for dominant 7th type chords, and just put all of these forms in there so that you can get familiar with them. The C minor 7th, I shift all the way up and do the same thing 3 frets higher. For the E flat minor 7th, the A flat 7, and then we do a D flat major 7th. And then see here how the only difference is I move this one finger up for that D minor 7 flat 5, back to the G augmented, back to the C minor 7th. And then a quick little turnaround, a 1-bar turnaround, the minor 7 flat 5 to the augmented 7th for the turnaround. And this, since it's a short song, only 16 bars long, we only have 1 bar rather than the traditional 2-bar turnaround to get us back to the minor that's coming there. Okay? Now, take a look at page 5. We're going to do the advanced chords, but I want to show you this finger pattern first. This is a bossa nova. Bossa nova was made popular, it's a Brazilian style, made popular in the 1950s and 60s by Stan Getz and Antonio Carlos Jobim and João Gilberto and all of these amazing musicians that brought over this cool sound to jazz in the 50s and 60s. So in the 50s and 60s, you had this bebop stuff happening, kind of hard bebop, which was fast and technical, but Stan Getz and these other amazing musicians brought over this Latin, this bossa nova, a very relaxed, cool sound. Part of that is it does not have the straight swing or the swing eighth notes like the jazz swing style. This has a Latin straight eighth, so we're not going jun jun ka jun ka. We're not doing that. It is duk 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 duk. It's a straight eighth rather than a triplet feel. Okay. To illustrate that, there's a little finger pattern that goes with that. So I'm going to put my pick down. Take a look at page 5. I wrote 2 different patterns down there. The first one is kind of more of a basic, and then the second one expands on that and makes it into a 2-bar rhythmic pattern and goes from there. So here's the basic rhythmic pattern. Look what's happening before we even get started. The stem down notes are just the root and fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I just repeated those first 2 bars and stayed in C minor. Now, what's happening with the upper strings? All right, well, if you're playing fingerstyle, 1, 2, and 3 are hitting the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string, and they're just going to go 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and. So when I add these together, it becomes. But Steve, I'm playing with a pick. All right, I can play with a pick too. In order to do it with a pick, you have to have a hybrid picking technique to where I'm holding my pick between my thumb and first, and that still leaves me 2 and 3 here to play a couple of the notes. But Steve, I'm not getting all of the notes. I know, it's one of the compromises that you have to make when you're doing hybrid picking. So you can do it both ways. Now, when the chord switches to something else, let's say at F minor, I still keep I still have to go root and fifth down here. Okay, so you practice that with me on that C minor. 1, 2, C minor, 7. Let's go to the F minor 7th, and you would continue on from there. Now, it really doesn't matter what you're playing in the upper strings. I could play the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings. Or I could play the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings. So that part of the equation doesn't even really matter. And so you do that same pattern as you go throughout the different chord progressions there. The more advanced pattern, the middle line on page 5, is we get a little more syncopated with the upper notes. So the advanced pattern, the bass line goes C, G, upbeat. Now there's a little, you'll see that little 8th note with an X on as the note head there. That's just this little pop that you do. It's a common, I'm not forcing the string fretted. I'm just doing it without. So when I play it all together, it comes out to be. That's that little. It's very similar to how a bass player would play it, with the fleshy part of your thumb. All right, so if I add the top part to it, it's down, down, and then everything else is on the upbeats. So if we put them all together, nice and slow, 1, 2, and ready, go, and. The F minor, same principle. Now I can apply that same rhythm to all kinds of chords. Let's go back to page 4 now, to the advanced chords. Here I just throw in some color tones. Instead of the C minor 7th, I made that a C minor 9th. If I add my bossa rhythm to that, it goes. I added the 9th to the F minor. To the D minor 7 flat 5, stayed that the same, but you got to remember, if you're alternating the bass on a flat 5 chord is not here, it's there. And it's just, since that was a 2-bar pattern, that's all you get. And then I have a G augmented sharp 9 to a flat 9 to back to the C minor. Okay? That little chord there is a very useful chord in jazz. We use it for things like this, a dominant 7 sharp 9. We use it for a half diminished, and we use it for a flat 9, sharp 9, flat 9. They'll all get bundled up into that dominant 7th chord there. Then we go back to the C minor 7. Just give you a little variation there. Then we go to the E flat minor. I turn that into an E flat minor 11th. A flat 13th. An augmented flat 9. Again, look at that. That's the same form as the chord right above it in the second line. Just a half step up, and then to the D major 7th. Resolving from the 3rd down to that 2nd again, just to give some variation. Then I have D minor 7 flat 5 resolving to the 11th. Augmented, resolving to the flat 5 to the C minor 9th. And then I turn it around. So let me play those advanced chords for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some great colorful sounds in there for all of that. All right, take a look now at the bottom of page 5, our lick of the week. All right, we're going to use last time's lick of the week too, but this one we get a new one. All right, this one uses some double stops. Now we use double stops in country chicken picking, but we don't think to use them in jazz. But here's a good way that you could use it in jazz. So let me play the lick for you first. That's it. Double stops, meaning you're playing a couple times, 2 notes together. So the bottom line, let's see, pull-offs for that middle. And then I add this high C. And I'm going to play that, for me, if I'm playing with a pick, I would tend to play that with my 3rd finger. 2, 3, 4, again. And that lick, that high C, just gives it a really hip sound. Now, get that lick first, and then you can do it, you can vary it depending on whatever musical situation you're in, but it's a great little lick. And look what I'm doing. It's basically a C minor pentatonic scale with some added blues notes. And I'm just taking a little part of it and I'm adding that blues note. I'm doing it fingerstyle. If I'm doing it fingerstyle, I seem to be doing thumb and my middle finger. But when I'm doing hybrid picking, I seem to be doing it with my thumb and 1st and my 3rd finger. So that'll take a little bit to get the coordination of that one down, but it's a great lick. Now, one thing on that lick. If I'm in the key of C minor, that lick's going to work in C. There's the root. Now, but Steve, what if the chord then goes to F minor? Do I transpose the lick down here and do it in F minor? No, it's not going to sound good. It's going to kind of clash if we're in C minor. This lick works in the tonal center, not necessarily with every individual chord that goes by. So you don't transpose this lick. Keep it in the tonal center. If we're in C minor, what if it goes to F? That's okay. I can still play the same lick. I don't transpose the lick. So I stay in the tonal center. I don't transpose this lick to other chords, F minor, the G, the D minor. I don't transpose those to any other thing except for the tonal center, which is in C minor. Now, if the song is in, let's say, G minor or something, then I would play my lick all the time in G minor, not moving to the other chords within G minor. I hope you understand that. First time you transpose this to F, you'll hear it. Oh, that doesn't work. Yeah. So it works in all keys, but not in all chords within a tonal center. It just works on the root. Okay. Great. Flip the page. Page 6. We're going to get into theory a little bit now. We're in minor, so we're going to. I need you to understand a couple of things. One of the key scales that we're going to be dealing with is the harmonic minor scale. Now we're going to talk theory here for a minute. If it's over you, just listen, humor me, and then forget all about it. If you're don't get frustrated if you're not there yet for this. Just kind of hear me out. This in minor, there are basically 3 minor scales. Like we have a major scale. Okay. Which is a kind of like a number line. It continues off in both directions, but this part of it is a C major scale. Now we have relative majors and relative minors. So with every major key, there's a cousin that's its relative minor. So in the key of C major, A minor is its relative minor. So I can, if I start in the key of C and go from A to A, I end up with the natural minor scale. That's our first of our three types of minor scales, the other one being harmonic minor, the other one being melodic minor. We don't do a whole lot with melodic minor, so we're just going to forget about that one in jazz. We're going to focus today on the harmonic minor scale. So every major key has this relative minor that's attached to it that shares the same key signature. Okay. Now, in order to get the harmonic minor, it's just a little variation of it. Did you hear that little variation there? That little leading tone, half step before the target key chord, which is the A minor, they throw in a leading tone. Naturally, it's not there, but in order to make the 5 chord work in a minor key, that leading tone helps to be there. So they just put a scale around it. Okay? That's the harmonic minor scale. It ends up with this large jump. That's the harmonic minor scale. So, harmonic minors, I learned them all through school. No one ever taught me what you could use them for. There are some great uses for a harmonic minor scale. They were great over, if I'm soloing, this song is in C minor, so let's put our harmonic minor in C minor. Look at the bottom of page 6. I gave you 2 ways to play this. The diamond indicates the root, so if you're at the bottom of page 6 and you see that first little chord diagram there, this is how you play a minor, harmonic minor on guitar. Big jump here. Okay. If I want to go that back down. Okay. A great way to play that scale. Now, if I wanted to play it with a, that's a 5th string root. What if I wanted to play it with a 6th string root? And I play it up here at the 7th position. I reach back for this first B. That one has some shifts in it. Just pay attention to the numbers. That's the C harmonic minor in 2 different forms. Now, why is that important, Steve? All right, this song is in the key of C minor. So this harmonic minor scale works great over C minor. Don't believe me? We're going to put on the track here, and we're going to put on the track, and I'm just going to noodle around in that C harmonic minor scale over these things. So go ahead and play the track. Great, okay? See how well that works? That works fantastic in these minor Latin sort of things. It's a great scale to have underneath your fingers. So if you look back on page 6, a little bit toward the middle of the page, it says, in jazz, the harmonic minor scales work great over minor chords, particularly in minor keys. If I'm in a C, key of C minor, then I can use a C minor pentatonic scale, C harmonic minor scale over that, okay? They also work as a great chord substitution. You get 2 for the price of 1. If I have a G7th, let's say, maybe a G7 flat 9, or some sort of variation, G augmented, any of those, I can play my C harmonic minor over that. What was all that? That was a C harmonic minor. with some hammer-ons thrown in. It's a great scale to learn. That's one of the most useful hip-sounding scales you can play. So over the dominant, like a G7th, I can still play the harmonic minor, a C harmonic minor over a G7. So just make that important connection there. All right, so it also, when I do the harmonic minor, you can derive chords from it. Okay, so I'm trying not to get too lost in the weeds here with the theory. There's the scale. Practice that, get it underneath your fingers. That's something you can solo with in these minor keys. Let's talk about how that works with chords. If I take a regular major 7th scale, regular major scale, you've heard me talk about how the 1 chord, if I build thirds on all those, I end up with a specific pattern of chords. Major 7th, minor 7th on the 2, minor 7th on the 3, major 7th on the 4, dominant 7th on the 5, and so on. So that's what I'm talking about when I say 2 and 5. The 2s are always minor, 3, 6s, 3s, 2s, 3s, and 6s are always minor. 1s and 4s are always major 7ths. The 5 is always going to be a dominant 7th. And the 7th is always going to be this half diminished thing. But remember, we talked about each major key has a relative minor too. So if I go to A minor and I did the same thing, I kept the same, I just starting it on A minor. So it's A minor 7th, B half diminished, C major 7th, D minor 7th, E minor 7th, F major 7th, G 7th, A minor 7th. So to see what I did, I harmonized the minor, the natural minor sound, which is a great combination of chords. So then when I do that, the 1 ends up being minor. The 2 is a half diminished. Now the 3 is actually a flat 3. In A we would have a C sharp, but here it's a C major. So, and that's a major 7th. So I still end up with the same types of chords. They're just in different places now. Do you see what happened there? So now 1 and 4 and 5 are minor 7ths. 2 is a half diminished 7th. Flat 3 and flat 6, don't let that freak you out. That's just the same thing. This is the same thing that I was doing in C. I'm just looking at it now from the perspective of A minor. And end up with this flat 7 becomes a dominant 7th. Okay? Now, the one thing that doesn't work on that is the 5 being minor. So we add our leading tone. Remember our leading tone from our harmonic minor scale? That G sharp going to that A minor? We like that. We like that. It ends up being the dominant, the third of the dominant, the very note that defines the dominant. We like that leading tone in there. So if we add that leading tone in there only on the 5, we end up with the 1 being a minor 7th, the 2 being a half diminished, the flat 3 major 7th still there, 4 is a minor 7th. Then we have the E7 with that leading tone. He ends up being a dominant 7th. We still have the F major 7th, we still have the G 7th. And that's how that works in jazz. When you're in a minor key, 1 and 4 are now going to be minor 7th chords. 5 is going to be a dominant 7th chord. 2 is still a half diminished, and flat 3 and flat 6 are still major 7ths. So there you go. That was a nickel's worth of theory that will make a whole lot more sense when you're doing minor things in jazz. Flip over the page, page 8. So if I take that concept and apply it now to C minor, which we are in for Blue Bossa, that's why we have C minor 7th, D minor 7th is a half diminished, D minor 7 flat 5. You have E flat major 7ths, you have F minors in the 3rd bar. You have G7 in the bar, what is that, the 6th bar. Okay, we don't really have any A flat major 7ths in this one, or a B flat 7, but the rest of those chords you have. So if we looked at the chord forms, this is on page 8, I just wanted to show you what's going on. I put the basic chords up here, and I want to show you what's happening. The C minor 7th is the 1, but in minor. The F minor 7th is the 4, but it's now minor because we're in a minor key. The D minor 7 flat 5, that's the 2 half diminished of the C minor. The G augmented is the 5-7 of the minor, the 1 minor. So that is a 2-5-1 minor in minor. Okay. Then on the third line, remember, it switches to the tonal center of D flat major. So now if we're thinking in D flat major, the E flat minor becomes a 2, the A flat 7 becomes the 5 of the D flat, and now the D flat is the 1, just for that one line. And then after that, we go back into the tonal center of C minor, and we have the 2 minor 7 flat 5, the 5, and the 1 minor. See how that works? Just an important thing to note in jazz in minor. Okay, so we talked about the melody at the bottom of the page 8. When you're soloing, let's talk about how I can solo. So here's some things I can do. Page 9, I can solo in C minor. Okay, so if I put that track on in here in a second, I can do anything in C minor. I could do a C minor pentatonic scale. I could do the C minor pentatonic scale with blues notes. I can do this new harmonic minor. I can do E flat major because that's the relative major of the C minor. Okay, so that's an option. I can do my lick of the week over the C minor. Hey, I can even do the lick of last week on the G7 or any 7th, which would be, I could also throw it on that A flat 7th on the third line. And that will resolve to that D flat for me. So over that D flat line, what can I play? Well, you can play a D flat major scale through all of that third line if you want to. Or you can play a D flat major pentatonic. Here we go. We're going to put the track on, and I'm just going to solo through a little bit of these things and talk you through it. Here's a C minor pentatonic scale. If I add the blues notes, here comes the D flat, so I'm just going to play a D flat or D flat scale. Okay, then I go back to C minor. What was that? That was the lick of the week from last week. Okay? All right, so there's some ideas for that. Where do you start? The first place to start is always to write in the names of the notes. I wrote them out there. Just take that first page on page 2, I believe it is, and then just write out the chord tones that are active in each chord. Now, in this one, I'm not really thinking too much by chords like we did in the last song. I'm thinking these tonal centers. We're in C minor for 2 lines, D flat major for 1 line, back to C minor. And there you go. Try and impose that double stop lick over these things as well. Some folks were asking about solos. I don't know where to start on solos. So I would included, if you flip the page over, on page 10, I included a sample solo, which incorporated all these things that we've been talking about. Okay, so if you don't know where to start, here's the sample solo. I also even tried to put in what these little licks are. That's kind of a variation of the melody. If you play some sort of variation of the melody over the solo, you're never going to be too far from being accurate because it's the melody. Over that F minor 7th coming up here, I did the old chord substitution where I went up to the flatted 3rd of the F minor, and I'm just going to do an A flat major 7th arpeggio up. That's what that is. Then it volumes back to that, down to that F. Again, forget that B flat 7. Second line, that's right out of the melody. Hey, let's throw in our last week's lick of the week. Okay, there I finished it out. When I go to the E flat minor, up here, I'm going to walk up the D flat major scale, starting on the E flat, and I'm just going to kind of stair step my way up there. ending on the third and the sevenths. There's our thirds and sevenths that we want, that we like. Remember how the melody goes? So this is, again, a little copy from the melody. Heading to that third of that G. Almost a harmonic minor little lick there. Okay, if I go to the next page, page 11, here's my lick of this week. Here's my same thing again over that F minor 7th. I'm going to play an A flat major 9th arpeggio. I slide up here to the G and the B flat, which gets the A flat major 9th. Then I just work my way down. Really hip lick. What was that? That's right up a C harmonic minor scale. And then I spin out of it on the C. Okay? To the E flat minor, I just walk down a descending E flat minor 7th arpeggio. That's kind of a variation of the lick that we played before. Okay. Ending on the third in D flat. Right with the melody again. Okay. And then I do this descending C harmonic minor scale. See how you always have to catch the dismount. And there you're back at the top again. So we're going to put on the track. I'm going to play this sample solo for you, and we will be out. Here's the sample solo, page 10. Here comes our lick of the week, and 1. The descending E flat minor. Switch my fingers here. Descend that harmonic minor scale. There you go. And that is the sample solo for you. So there you go. That's a good start on Blue Bossa. I hope you enjoy working with it. It's got a lot of great potential for practicing your soloing on the minor pentatonics with the blues notes, and now our new harmonic minor scale. If you got lost in the theory stuff, don't worry about it. Just kind of realize in minor there are some different rules. The 1 and the 4 are minor, the 5 still stays a dominant. So there you go. That's some good information about Blue Bossa. I hope you enjoy working on it, and I will see you next time.